Right, so here we are again, the fourth time around. Let's see what the narrator has to say for himself when we leave the office.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
So that is the standard beginning. Nothing different there.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, so I think I've completed, or not completed exactly, but taken all of the options, taking the right door, and I've also I'm going to run through all of this because
there was not a single person here either.
you can see all of this
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley
in the
decided
first
to go
video.
up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
And again, I've taken the downstairs route, and I think I've done everything I can do with the downstairs route. Unless I've missed something, which is very likely. I'm gonna keep playing the normal route for the time being. Okay, so I've been through all of this. Okay, the office is exactly the same as it was.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an
2845
extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
So the narrator isn't
Amazing.
trying to keep
He
up with
stepped
me.
into the newly opened passageway.
Again, the reason I'm rushing through this is because this is the generic story which I've played through in video 1, and the 2 kind of pathway options I've explored in videos 2 and 3. So I'm going to continue on the generic story to try and find other pathways later in this particular storyline.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay, I'm going to continue along here. What are these yellow markings on the floor? Does that indicate the lift? Is that a kind of lift symbol? And there's
Stanley walked straight ahead
arrows
through the
here.
large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. So this is a chance to explore a different pathway. In video 1 I went through and took Stanley through into the mind control facility and explored that. And that's eventually leads you to make a decision to turn the system on or off. I think we'll explore that later. I'm quite tempted by this escape route, and I'm also quite nerve-wracked by this misty, dark underground corridor. But let's try it, shall we?
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Now, I have no reason to think that the narrator is lying, so I am going to suspect I'm gonna await a violent death. I wonder how it's gonna come. But this is now an area which I've
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yes, I do willingly confront my death. All in the name of exploration. Is this a furnace or a rubbish chute? Whatever it is, it's kind of horrible. Oh god, I don't really want to go down there. Let's try, shall we? Ah. Okay. So I was already underground, and I fell down through fell down a very large chute. Wow. Wow. Oh. What is this?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story.
Okay, no, I've managed to...
Perhaps his death was a...
Am I going to get crushed?
The eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent...
I'm going down here. Am I going to die?
Stanley.
No. No, I made it through. Oh, cripes.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Okay,
In a single
no.
visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Nope, that didn't happen, actually. What on earth happened there? The crusher stopped and allowed me to drop out. The Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Why do we know of a female narrator? Where am I? Shall I just keep walking towards these giant words? Ah, yes. Where's the male narrator gone? What is this?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Those doors don't go anywhere. 01, the office, 02, 03. These are parts of the game. Nature paintings. Yeah, I've seen all of these paintings, repeated many, many times. This one reminds me of the way, if you follow the generic storyline as I did in video 1, this reminds me of where you exit. I've seen all of these 100 times as I play through this game. The office layout, the blueprint. This blueprint shows the office from the beginning of the game. The path from Stanley's office to the 2 doors was the first part of the game that was built. Sections have been added and altered throughout development, though the core layout remains almost identical to the first iteration. So that is that's Office 427. Yes, I've passed through that there, and then that, and then that. Yep. Okay, yeah, it's all very familiar. The 2 doors, the set of 2 open doors, was the very first concrete piece of the Stanley Parable's design. Once this room was created, the rest of the game emerged as an extension of it, an exploration of the contradiction this room posed. Okay. The pacing of this opening section was important to get right. This corridor had been moved and altered to make sure the player reaches the 2 doors in a good time. Okay. Filing cabinets. It's got everything. Office computers. There's. Yes, we've seen all of these. Employee database. I can turn them off. Do I want to turn them off? I'm interested in doing it. What do we have over here? Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Amazing. So now we're in sort of the developer's mind. Stanley's computer. There's nothing I can do. In this kind of white-washed, wooden floorboarded, pillared, galleried, vaulted room. These are the credits that we've seen. Okay, the impeccable Kevin Brighting is the narrator. Is there anything interesting on there? Obviously there's lots of interesting people, but is there anything interesting to the game? This is remarkable, really, isn't it? The office. Maintenance room. We haven't seen that room. An early version of the maintenance room. I've not been in the maintenance room, have I? 431 to 436. Let's have a look down here. I think we'll probably meet up again at the top of the stairs. The office clock. Yep, that seems about right. The boss's office. Screens and development of the boss's office. Yep, we've been there. It's like wandering around a gallery of the game I've already played. Employee lounge. Did I just hear something? Narration outtakes. Kevin Brighting, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over the 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes that were not used in the final game. It really is like wandering around a developer's museum of their own game. It's bizarre. And kind of very frightening. Freedom ending. Yes, that's where I walked out. This was the first incarnation of the freedom ending in the game's alpha. Okay, so the freedom ending is what I have done. Countdown desk. Okay, that was the second freedom ending. There's the exit. Monitor room, elevator. Countdown room, we've been there. Sent Davey the Writer as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William Hart to design the full game. Okay. It's a beautiful space nonetheless. Stanley's office. From left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011, the second in March 2012, and the third in February 2013. And that's the one. That is the one. Okay. Absolutely fascinating. So, let's take the exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Okay, What is that? On. Am I turning the game on? Am I turning the game off? So many questions. Let's see what happens, shall we?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
I'm going to take the
Stop
crash
now.
this time.
The only true choice. Whatever you do, choose
No.
it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
I'm sorry, Stanley. Okay. Where am I? Stanley has just been crushed. For some reason, I'm reluctant to press escape. This game is full of unexpected twists, and I feel like if I keep sitting here, something might happen. Oh no. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm stuck here. In darkness. The game hasn't restarted. Come on. Don't leave me hanging like this. I'm gonna resist the temptation to press escape. This is very unlike the game to not have a meaning at this point. Otherwise, I am just sat here, staring at a black screen, talking to myself. I'm trying to look around, nothing. Okay, we'll give it 20 more seconds and we'll see if anything changes. The reason I'm reluctant to begin again is because the game likes to restart you so that it knows what you've done before. And if I quit, then I'll be restarting the game at the very beginning, and the game will have no prior knowledge of my other run-throughs, which seem to affect the future run-throughs. But I am basically talking to myself. Let's think.